Greetings and welcome back to a Friday edition of the Shotgun Start. Today is July 26th. Vince, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, fellas?
I'm doing good. I think he's asking PJ too. PJ, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks, Vince. I don't normally get asked.
Yeah.
I know. That's why I asked you, PJ. You get neglected.
Thank you.
Vince, Vince, our guest, Vince India, a professional golfer, longtime Korn Ferry Tour member, playing the Colorado Open this week. Fresh off, we got to ask you, this is the premier gambling pod. We figured we better have one of the best gamblers on tour on. Do you have any gambling tips for our audience?
For the Colorado State Open specifically, or the 3M Championship?
Just in general, any gambling tips?
Let me go through my Rolodex of keepers here. But there's a couple high ball hitters here at the Colorado Open. So if you can find a black market of somebody who hits a pretty fast ball at altitude, it's a short course. It's running pretty fast. So.
What's the deal with the Colorado Open? I feel like it is like the staple of the non-sanctioned professional golf scene. Is the PGA Tour sanctioned? Is it the major of the American state opens?
I think so. I think it's the best run of state open I've ever played in. They obviously have the highest purse, the most money to the winner. They're giving out $100,000 for first place, which is awesome. $250,000 is the total purse. It's a very well-run event. They had 2 pro-ams yesterday, afternoon and morning. So it feels like a very legitimate event as well.
How are your pro-am partners?
They were hilarious, actually. They were all local fellows, and we got into chopping it pretty quickly. One guy didn't show up, and I told him that'll be fine. We'll play kind of slow. We'll make fun of each other a little bit more out there. And one guy got into some stories from San Francisco very, very early on. And if we can get to that at some point, it gave me quite the chuckle.
What kind of stories from San Francisco?
A few of them lived in San Francisco for a little bit, and one of them centered around taking his kid around San Francisco. I was like, "Oh, Daddy, what's that?" It's like, "Oh, well, that's a poop on the street, son." "Oh, Daddy, what's that?" "Oh, those are heroin needles." "Daddy, why is this kid? Oh, yeah, why is this kid? Why is this guy sleeping on the streets?" And he goes, "Well, son, it turns out if you use heroin, you end up living on the streets and pooping on the sidewalk." So that's kind of how the program started. I was like, "Whoa."
You come on this podcast and immediately throw jabs at. I guess I don't live in the city, so everybody always is like, "What are you dealing with the San Francisco? That's tough." And I'm like, "Well, I never go down there, so I guess I never go down there. I have no reason to defend it." But
Yeah,
I would say every city's got problems. Every city. I go to all sorts of cities. They all have problems.
Sure do.
I think San Francisco's are overblown. I didn't know I was going to get into politics here. I did have a question for you. I just saw that Southwest is now they've gotten rid of their cattle call. They've gotten rid of the open seating. They're going to assigned seats. How do you feel about that as a regular traveler?
I love it. The whole egalitarian brotherhood that they stand behind, it was just an absolute farce, in my opinion. It was infuriating, and one of the only reasons why I refuse to fly Southwest, unless I absolutely had to. I truly despise it. I hated it.
I hate it too. I hate the whole 24-hour check-in. It's like, so if I'm like a busy person and I have something and can't check in, I'm penalized. Like I'm penalized that I can't be like on the button at 9:10 a.m. I might have something else. Like I might be on a meeting. I might have to say, "I'm sorry, hold on. I have to check in for my Southwest flight." Like what a ridiculous sham.
I agree. I actually might end up flying Southwest more now that they got rid of the cattle call, in all honesty. So it's a more appealing product all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, the 2 bags free, all sorts. I guess they want to introduce premium options. This has been my biggest problem. I went on Tron Carter of No Laying Up's Airports Pod, and I voiced this. This is my biggest problem with it. if I'm loyal to Southwest and I get their A-list, I fly there a lot. You fly a lot. So, if I'm a loyal customer to the cattle call, my reward is that I get a board early. And where do you want to sit if you board early? The front of the plane.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick an aisle or a window seat at the front of the plane. Now, with Southwest, the middle seats start to fill up at the end of the cattle call, right? What are the first middle seats that are always going to be taken?
The ones up front.
So by being loyal, I have basically committed myself to always having somebody in the middle seat next to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with the cattle call, and there's no reward for loyalty there.
No, I agree completely.
Now, I will say their companion pass thing is pretty sick. That you could just fly. You could have someone that flies for free with you all the time.
I agree. I have a couple of friends that have flown enough where their spouses or girlfriends, they all fly for free, and that's super appealing. You're right.
What's going on in the state open circuit? Could you give us could you compare them to maybe PGA Tour majors? So what's the Colorado Open comp?
Probably, it feels like PGA Championship. It's got the highest purse. Lots of people fly in from everywhere. You got a bunch of no names, past champions, people who said they quit, but they're playing golf all of a sudden.
You've got Blocky.
It's unbelievable. The aura. Championship. I never saw Blocky in person until yesterday, and let me tell you, I was starstruck. It was unbelievable. I almost drooled out of my mouth, just there he is. That's him. It's really him.
I had a similar feeling, there's Blocky. He's got a real magnetism to him.
He does. He was getting ready to go out for his afternoon pro-am yesterday, and was rightfully so filling up his cooler with a bunch of ice. And he kind of went around the back of the clubhouse, trying not to be noticed, and all of a sudden I see this gaggle of interns "Oh, Michael, we can help you with that. Please let me get you ice, Michael." And I'm sitting there at the putting green "Oh, this is great." He's like a sultan.
Was he a sponsors exemption? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Do you have to qualify? What's the deal?
You do. I think the top 40 from last year are exempt into this year's field. And I asked for a sponsor exemption and was granted one as well. So
look at that.
Yeah, I can't really trash block you for that.
Former president or whatever of the Corn Ferry Tour pack gets you a sponsored exemption. Do you feel do you feel crooked when you're on a sponsored exemption?
I don't. I really don't. I've been in the system long enough. I feel like I ought to use it to my advantage.
Let's get a few more comps. What are some other? What would you if you started rattling down the state opens? Where would they fall? What's the 3M? What's the 3M Open of state opens?
Oh man, probably the Laramie Open potentially, or the Cheyenne Open. One of those. It's just no one really goes there and plays, but someone's got to win, obviously. It's so true. I tell you what, the Waterloo Open is it should be renamed the Waterloo Masters, honestly. They got that place greened up, super firm. All the greens are very tilted and tiny, small sections. Fun little golf course, lots of little dinky wedges, emphasis on iron play. It's pretty cool.
Is it the same Waterloo Open from Happy Gilmore?
Probably. Yeah, I would imagine. The Waterloo Open at Irv Warren Memorial and Pool Club.
Is that in Iowa?
Yeah, Waterloo, Iowa.
And then there's an Iowa Open.
Yeah, that's the Iowa PGA Opens next week, which I'm also playing at Blue Top Riverside Casino. Great golf course, actually, yeah.
What's the most fun state open?
I'm going to be pretty biased and say Illinois because... Oh, yeah, of course, obviously. I love the Illinois Open. They played at a wonderful golf course, Flossmoor on the south side of Chicago. It's across the street from Olympia Fields. It's just a joy to play. It's a very well-run tournament, good purse, good players. They're allowing former college players who played at university in Illinois to play now, so it's going to be a little bit more of a competitive field. And it's just fun for me, and it's close to home, so I'm a little biased in that regard.
That was a very political answer. You're playing the politics here. You didn't you didn't want the Illinois Open to get on you. They offered me a sponsor's exemption years ago. Did you know that?
You're kidding, really?
Yeah, I did not accept it.
That's too bad.
I decided to stay above the sponsor's exemption.
Okay. Well, maybe one day we can get you. I don't know what we have to do, but.
Well, I'm beyond the tournament golf playing point of my career.
That's fair.
Hey, you've had a mandated absence. What have you been doing? What's been life mandated to stay away from the Corn Ferry Tour? What do you do? What have you been doing?
Well, it started in October, and I tell you what, my girlfriend had back surgery, so she needed a ton of help around the house. Daily chores were very difficult for her all of a sudden, so I was helping her recover and making sure everything was nice and orderly around the house. So
she's not your girlfriend anymore. She's your fiance.
At the time, oh, you're correct. I gotta get used to saying that. It's so weird. At the time, she was my girlfriend, now fiance.
Short period of your life where you use this weird term to describe your significant other.
I know I'm still getting used to it, obviously, and so there's a lot of housekeeping that needed to take care of, little daily chores, shopping, caretaking, pretty much a private chef, nurse, errand runner, chauffeur, all that for a couple months. And then
what's your best dish?
We eat a lot of Indian food. She's plant-based all the time. I make a pretty good chana masala and dal palak, which are both lentil-based dishes. Those are some of my favorite things. And then if you can somehow finagle vegan eggplant parm, that's pretty delicious as well.
Man, not only a private chef, but a private plant-based chef. That's impressive.
It's asking a lot, but when you had as much time as I had on my hands, it was easy to find other hobbies.
What do you do with your golf game? Is it like do you make any big changes, or are you putting a ton of work in the gym and less work on the how does that work?
Yeah, a ton of work in the gym, more than I ever have, and I feel like it's paid off. Like my body certainly feels about as awesome as it has in years, strength wise and mobility wise. And then you kind of go down the rabbit hole of like, well, let's try to fix the golf swing. Ideally, I would love to get it back to where it was a couple of years ago when I was playing really well before I tried a bunch of things to get a little bit better, like we all do. And I'm not entirely sure I went about those changes this winter the right way. Went through a couple of shortcuts like you can do indoors. You're hitting into a simulator and you're not entirely sure of ball flight laws indoors. So what I thought was the best way to go about things might have been, I guess, the cheater's way. So I'm trying to iron those things out at the moment. But a lot of simulator golf. TrackMan Tour, tons of that.
How was the indoor tour? I saw, it pop up.
Fascinating. I think it's a wonderful idea, and it honestly kind of kept me grounded a little bit, just because I had no purpose for a little bit. I'm not entirely sure I knew what I was doing, and it was a little bit of a godsend because it felt like I had something to kind of prep and play for and get ready for every couple of weeks, and it was fun. It's legitimate money. People they actually pay you, which someone's like, there's no way they actually pay you. Like, come on.
How much did you have to put in to enter one of them?
Each event is $130. $100 of that goes toward the purse, and then there's administrative fees of $30. And then TrackMan also puts up $100,000 of their own money for each event. Yeah.
How many people were in the tournament?
I think the largest field was near 800 people potentially. And then they always averaged over 500 people. So all around the world too.
That's pretty cool. I think you think about it, it's like you could have literally 200,000 people in a tournament.
You could, yeah, as long as you had access to a TrackMan studio and golf clubs, and you could be able to play this event. They're pretty cool. So hopefully I'm kind of the joke is like, yeah, I'm just kind of getting ready for Sim Season 3 here coming up. That's kind of my forte all of a sudden.
So you get now you got to be excited. Q School's got places that you can go. Theoretically, you can join the PGA Tour from Q School. Although you might only play 9 or 10 events.
Well, maybe it's they got to iron that out. But the Q School schedule actually makes a lot more sense this year. It doesn't conflict with any DP scheduling, which is nice. So you can go do both for once. I feel like in years past that's never been the case, and they've condensed it for sure. Like I remember in years past, if you wanted to start from first stage or pre-qualifying, you would start in the last couple of weeks of August, and then final stage was December or so. And my first stage is the last week of October this year. And then there's only about a week or 10 days in between second and final stage. So it's nice that they kind of brought it all together.
All right, we're gonna do a golf advice heavy episode here. But I have to acknowledge this. I didn't mention it in the schedule of the week, and I don't want a bunch of angry LIV Golf fans in my messages. LIV Golf has an event this week. The LIV Golf UK. It's by JCB. All the big teams are there. The Crushers, the Legion 13, all the big teams, all the big names are there. You can watch that on the CW. Do you have any LIV UK preview thoughts, Vince?
I don't. I'm not entirely sure if I'm a LIV sympathizer or a LIV enthusiast, but they're just kind of there, like lint on your dryer sheets. They just exist, and they don't really do anything for me at the moment. So I'm not sure I've watched more than 10 minutes of a LIV event in my entire life. But
did you see that they've given the Magic Sticks a bar at the course this week?
I saw that.
I feel like that was important.
I mean, they gave him a bar, but then they put him on hole 16 in the shotgun start. It feels kind of disrespectful to the home team.
Who's on the Magic Sticks? We got Poulter, Westwood, Stenson, and Horsfield.
Yeah.
So, well, are they big drinkers, or what's the deal?
I mean, they're a bottom feeder in the league. They've been really bad. I don't know. I think that the last time I checked, they were near the bottom of the team standings. So
they look terrible.
They've been bad. You know, there's something about giving players in the twilight of their years a big contract that usually comes up and bites you in the ass, no matter what sport it is. You know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Vince. I think you've listened to the show. Golf advice. We've got a good mix here for you. We're gonna start with a New Jersey mob gun on the golf course story. 95 years old, widower, 4 kids, 8 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, no interest in fighting. I think this was not written in by the 95-year-old. This was written in by someone associated with him. As an operator of a family-owned golf club in the Northeast, I've often thought about writing in share some of the ridiculous complaints we get, like a member who threatened to sue the club for alleging violating the Americans with Disabilities Act for removing French onion soup from the menu. But today, I share a retroactive SGS golf advice question that was recently shared with me by my 95-year-old grandfather, who we'll call Bob. It's the early 1970s, and Bob has just joined Essex Country Club, a fantastic northern New Jersey Seth Rayner Charles Bank golf course, which was recently restored by Gil Hanse. In that era, many clubs were self-segregated by ethnicity. Essex happened to be known as an Irish club. In March, Bob, a new member, attends what he believes to be the run-of-the-mill golf club St. Patrick's Day party. In actuality, at the height of the Troubles, it turned out to be a fundraiser for the IRA, during which a hat is being passed to buy guns and send back to Ireland. Not knowing what the hat was for, he tosses in a $20 bill and is met with sideways glances, suggesting Andrew Jackson is not going to be enough to liberate the Irish from several centuries of English oppression. Fast forward to the following spring, and he is playing in his first member guest. Bob and his partner, both very vanilla businessmen, think Gregory Peck, gray flannel suit types, are paired with another club member whom he has not met and the member's guest. The guest is a member at a nearby golf club where the membership is predominantly Italian. The guest, who introduces himself by a now forgotten mob nickname, does nothing to break this stereotype. They start on the 11th hole, a very famous and difficult par 3 over a large ravine. Bob loses a ball in the ravine and ends up in his pocket. The guest, the Italian guest, misses the green, chips on, and hits several putts. Upon arriving at the 12th tee, the guest demands Bob record a 1. Incredulous, Bob responds, "But I saw you putting back there." "Okay, make it a 2. "Well, we're keeping score for a tournament." The guest then proceeds to open the front large pocket of his large leather tour bag, revealing a sawed-off shotgun. What score do you write down?
You write the 1 down. What's the line in The Princess Bride? You don't negotiate with a Sicilian when death is on the line. Something like that. It's a 1. Get out of there.
It's a 1.
It's a 1.
Have you had any in your illustrious pro-am career, have you had any situations where you have been a part of a potential, people that you don't want to get into writing down incorrect scores?
No, it's luckily no, but I think that kind of goes against the ethos of a pro-am in general, where everyone's kind of out there to have fun. It's a little hit and giggle of, I'm sure there's a couple teams that are out there to win it, and luckily I've not been a part of such teams where they're over competitive jerks.
I think in this case you write down the 2. He gave you permission to write down the 2, but now you can't jam him. Going forward,
you're pretty much you're as his little puppy. All of a sudden, you're going to do whatever he wants going forward. You've already established that. So,
or you write down the 1 and just enjoy watching him accept the hole in 1. It could be like, hey, this guy made a hole in 1, because when you get back in, they're gonna be like, oh my god, we had a hole in 1.
See, you just wonder if he's even all about the hole in 1. Do you think he's going to boast to other people, or is it just going to keep it within the group? This sounds fascinating to me. It's scary.
All right, getting a hotel. 30 years old, 1 kid, 0 interest in fighting. Visiting a friend for the weekend of golf at his club. We're both 30. I'm married with a kid. He's neither. Lives in a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. Likely scenario is I'm offered / understood to stay at his apartment, sleeping on a couch or an air mattress. If the roommate is gone, might be offered his room. Who knows if it's clean? I've stayed there a couple of times like this, and I don't love the setup, but struggle with whether I'm old enough or if it's weird if I say I'd rather just get a hotel. I'm certainly not old, but definitely not at the point where 3 nights on the couch, but definitely at the point where 3 nights on a couch or an air mattress takes its toll and will detract from the golf, I would say, / overall experience. How do I cross this Rubicon with how do you cross this Rubicon with your friends? When should friends without guest rooms start to expect this from visitors? At 25, you'll sleep on any couch that's offered. 40 feels like definitely would stay in a hotel, and neither party bats an eye. When between 25 and 40 does this transition occur?
I think as soon as you have a retirement savings account or a Roth IRA, that's as soon as you've transitioned to the hotel situation, because you've made enough money, you have a savings, and you don't need to schlep it on anyone's couch anymore. Like, I know everyone's been there, but at some point you start funding a retirement account or some type of savings, you can go and afford yourself a nice Priceline Howard Johnson.
I think it also depends on the activities, right? Like what you're getting into. If you're going, I mean, I'm 38. I can't remember the last time I slept on someone's couch, to be completely honest. But like if I'm just in town and I'm partying, I'm like out and about, I think it might be okay for me to sleep on a couch for a night. Like if I'm taking a full swing, but if I'm playing golf like in a member guest the next day, I'm not sleeping on a couch, right?
Correct.
Like I'm probably not getting into it to the level at which I will sleep on a couch.
Correct. If there's anything physically taxing required the next day, even if it's golf or getting up and out of a car to attempt to hit a golf ball, it's gonna have to be a bed of some sort. No,
I imagine you get offered to stay at a lot of places when you're traveling around the country. It's like so and so's got a place you can stay. You know, my mom's friend has offered up this place in Southwest Missouri that I can stay in. What are the general protocols for staying at someone's house? You're often, I imagine, often a house guest.
Yeah, prolific private housing frequenter here. I had a really good network of folks on Corn Ferry over the last decade or so, where we go to the same places, obviously, year to year because the schedule never changes. And it's lucky enough that I get to contact the same people and a couple months out in advance and make sure the basement bedroom's still available. So I had some pretty good digs throughout the years. And then luckily enough too, my dad is fairly well traveled and has contacts throughout the country. And he somehow found a family friend in Cedar Rapids last week where I could stay at for the Waterloo Open. And then coincidentally, it's just about the same distance to the Iowa Open course as well. So I'll be staying at his place about a week and a half from now as well.
What ingredients make the best host for, like what are the ingredients? If you said like, what are the three most things to being a good host to random people that might be associated with someone you know?
The lack of questions is very important. I don't want to go home and have dinner and then just get completely dissected about. I don't want to talk about my round. It's not storytelling time. I don't want to know who's the biggest jerk on tour. Like, just treat me as like a normal person and we're having a conversation. So the 21 questions thing that's usually number one. If we're going to get picky on living quarters, I love a good basement, something really dark and with a firm mattress. And generally just good company. Like, I feel like I've been fairly lucky with the people that I find and stay with. And we've stayed friends over the years more than anything. So just good company is a really good prerequisite as well.
I don't know if I've ever told this story on a pod. One time, my old job, I used to travel the country a lot. And I would, this company, this was a startup. It was your quintessential tech startup that would do everything to cut corners on housing. And I was the person that often was, subject to this. So anyways, I was in Scottsdale, Arizona for like 3 weeks to a month. And the place it was a solo trip. Like a lot of times if there was 2 or 3 of us that went, they would get us a house, solo trip. I'm staying in somebody else's house for the time being. And this house that I got arranged into was they were a vegan household. I was not allowed to cook at all. I was not allowed to bring outside food into the house because of fear of contamination, which was like, I thought like way across the board. And this is like mid-20s me. I wasn't really like attuned to the vegan. This was I feel like the early era of vegan eaters in America. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but like like I got there and realized I couldn't eat eggs. Like I couldn't make eggs in the morning. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. But like, I have to say, I felt horrible for these people. So I had my own bathroom, but it was like across the hall situation. It was not like an ensuite thing. And it wasn't like a big house. And I was coming in from a weekend of heavy partying in Chicago. And, you know, this is mid-20s version of me. And I'm on the flight in, and things aren't feeling great. Like, you know, I couldn't tell if it was just a devastating hangover or what. But sure enough, I land on Sunday night, and by Monday I'm going about my job, and I'm still feeling not well. And by midday Monday, I realized that I have come down with some sort of devastating sickness. And it turns out to be, I don't know if it was the flu or strep throat, but for the next week, I proceed to be just running back and forth between the bathroom and my room, like in a state of like, I cannot move. Like I remember an ordeal just to get to Walgreens to buy 25 Gatorades and a lot of over-the-counter meds. So I felt awful. I felt like at that point I owed these people big time. But these people were delightful people. They were Coyotes season ticket holders. I went to multiple Coyotes games during my multi-week stay there. They were wonderful people, but it was a weird situation living in that house for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it was.
It's pretty brutal.
PJ, where are you at with staying on people's couches? What are you, 24?
25.
25. Oh, you can rent a car. When did you turn 25?
Like 2 months ago.
2 months ago. All right, before employment.
Pre-employment, yes. So that we actually just ran into this for Noah Khan. That there was
6th season.
Yeah, we actually just ran into this. I was adamant about wanting a hotel because I figured if there were 3 of us coming in, and I was like, screw it, we can split a hotel. Like, I'm telling you, this is worth it. The first night we stayed at my friend's apartment up by Boston College that did not have air conditioning in the middle of July, and I went, all right, that's enough of this.
Well, you're the high roller. You know, you're bankrolled by the Shotgun Start podcast.
promo code SGS. So we ended up having 5 of us in a hotel room for the second night, which I don't know if actually was any better, but it had air conditioning, so that was a positive.
Did you get what did you try and get posture for? What did you get? What was it? A 2 queen bed setup?
Yeah.
Did you get a cot
bed,
too?
2 queen bed, and we brought an air mattress from the apartment that we just threw in like the entryway walkway.
Ew.
So it was
PJ.
I was on a bed, so it was fine. It was fine with me. But it was out by the airport because 2 of us were flying out early, so it made the transportation to the airport easier. But the air conditioning for me was the big holdup. I think I have reached the point of defaulting toward the hotel if it's multiple. If it's just me, I'm okay with the couch. That's fine. If it's multiple people, and we're cramming, I'm okay with the hotel at this point. I would say I'm in the vast minority of people I associate with that would splurge for the hotel in that situation.
This is good for a boss to hear, because I now know that PJ is not okay with a couch.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I am okay with the couch, but if it's like the couch in one tiny like studio apartment with 5 of my friends, can we just get the hotel, please? Like,
I have to say, I think the hotel is a bad situation. It sounds even worse. It's a nearby airport hotel with 5 people in it. It's not even like, hey, we packed into this hotel, but it's in the city, and you know we could just stumble in and throw our stuff in and be done. So no, we had to take an Uber near the airport.
Yeah, no, it was a hassle, but it made getting out easier. So that was the win. It was not part of the original plan, but we rallied for it, I guess.
I think your gain's way up. I shouldn't be the one telling the producer this, but I think you got to turn your gain down, PJ. Not to jam you.
This microphone stinks, but that's fair.
I
can't hear myself.
You can't. Yeah, well, you know what?
It's on a budget.
All right, here we go, Vince. I think your advice as a prolific youth golfer, prolific junior golfer, prolific amateur golfer, and with more tournament golf experience, you could give this dad some advice. I'm 40 years old. I have one son, and I have no interest in fighting. It's important. No interest in fighting for this story. Need some advice on how to handle an on-course etiquette situation in competitive youth golf. First, let's set the stage. Last month, my son was in a group with a player he had never played with. We'll call him Dalton. Dalton was methodical, to say the least. His routine: get behind the ball, see his line, take 3 to 5 practice swings next to the ball. Get behind it again, one final practice swing, long pause over the ball, swing. On the other side, my son plays so fast that sometimes I wish he'd take a few extra seconds before casually banging in his 3-footers. Dalton's full swing routine wasn't even the worst part. Allow me to detail what happened on the 7th green. My son had 5 feet left from below the hole. Dalton had 8 feet from the other side, which he ran past 1.5 feet. We encouraged him to finish, not worrying about stepping in our line. He refused, saying he'd rather mark. I told him and his dad he'd have to move the mark off our line, and again offered, it's okay, take a couple seconds, read it, tap in. Dalton and his father refused, citing the need for more time to read the 18-inch straight uphill putt. After my son casually knocked in his 5-footer, I headed to the next restroom, a building 50 yards from the green. I jogged there, took care of number 1, washed my hands. I didn't need to know if it was 1 or 2. I guess maybe it has to do with the brevity of how long he was in there. And when I exited the building, I saw that Dalton and his dad were still reading the putt. At this point, I walked as slowly as I could back to the green without making any noise. Only when I walked all 50 yards had Dalton finally knocked in his gimme range putt. And I remember he had just seen the putt on the exact same line. His son's putt was on the same line. My son looked at me from his pushcart stool. That's kind of sad that the kid was sitting on his pushcart stool. And said loud enough for Dalton and his dad to hear, "Don't worry, Dad, you didn't miss anything." It took all I had to not burst out laughing. The group behind us felt it too. On each of the last 3 holes, I look back from the green to the fairway and see all 3 players sitting on their cart stools staring at us with more frustration in their eyes. As it turns out, Dalton and my son, tied for first, went to a playoff. The tournament directors asked us to ride carts so they could get the quick result and go home. My son 3-putted the playoff hole and lost. He didn't blame Dalton, but also said he hoped to never play with him again. But in the next tourney 2 weeks ago, we were paired with Dalton once again, this time in the final group. I used my phone stopwatch to time out Dalton's putts on each hole. On 6 occasions, it was north of a minute from the beginning. I read to read the putt until hitting it. One time, he took a absurd 1 minute 38 on a 5-foot putt. When we were on the 7th green, a tourney volunteer came up to monitor our group. The group in front of us had already turned in their scorecards. More than 2 full holes ahead. My wife proactively spoke to the volunteer and asked her to watch Dalton putt. She watched and said, "Wow, it's like this every hole. I came out to penalize the group, but that seems unfair to the others." My question to you guys: what should I do if we get paired with Dalton again? Talk to the tournament director beforehand, talk to Dalton's dad, or we just go full boy from Bratislava versus Ben Crane and walk to the next tee as Dalton is finishing up each hole?
If you don't have a Sicilian friend like our buddy from Essex Country Club, I would go full on boy from Bratislava and leave him in the dust. But this is where you need some muscle, a third party muscle, to come in there and talk some sense into this young kid. Because you're not going to do it yourself, but you could use a little bit of intimidation, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what the age here is. I think the age is really important with this. To me when I read this email, there's way too much father involvement on all cases here. There should be no dad helping read putts. To me, that this is junior golf. I don't know about you, Vince, but I remember when I was playing golf tournaments at 11 years old, it's not like my mom or dad was helping me. I was out there. I was out there in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it needs to be. I think this is the larger issue here is parental involvement in this situation.
Absolutely. You need to get the parent out of there. So it sounds like, to me, an 8 or 9-year-old situation, certainly under 10.
I swear it said an 8-year-old somewhere in here.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, this isn't how tournament golf should work. Your dad shouldn't be around.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 40 years old. One son. It's got to be a sub 10-year-old. Maybe they got after it early and it's a 13-year-old. But
I doubt it. At that point, you're almost out and doing things by yourself, going to movies by yourself. It sounds like a 8 or 9-year-old situation.
I mean, I think you could go to the tournament director. You don't want to be that person, though. Right?
They're not going to do anything, though. Like they have no push. So the worst thing about this is I don't think you can talk back to parents these days. And as soon as you start telling parents what to do, they're not going to come play in your tournaments anymore. And you don't want that.
I would say the one thing in this situation is, this could be a great learning experience for your kid. If he has aspirations of playing high level golf, he's got to learn to slow down. We've heard so many tour players say, I came on tour as a fast player and I learned that I needed to be a slow player. And now I just take my time. Is that true?
100%. Yeah. This actually might be a nice little turning stone or turning point for the kid here watching Dalton play. Because if he can get through Dalton's nonsense, I'm sure he can get through anything. So this might be good for him in the end.
All right. I think that's good advice. Just tell your kid to learn how to deal with slow play.
Yeah.
Slow play. If you let slow play ruin your day in tournaments, then you're the joker. You just gotta learn to deal with slow play. What's your best slow play? What do you do? What do you do? What's your thing?
What's my go-to?
Yeah, when you're sitting around. What do you do? What do you legitimately? What are some strategies?
There's not. It totally depends on your group, of course. So if you have a good group, you can pass a large amount of time just by chatting and seeing what everyone's got going on and how their lives are going and what they're into these days. But if not, it's there's not a whole lot of scenery on some of the golf courses we go to. I like to daydream a whole lot. I like to look out and kind of see what's going on around the golf course. If you can see some other golfers chopping it around. But it's tough. It's a tough scene with those 5.5 hour rounds. And I tell you what, it's getting worse and worse. So I'm not sure I have wonderful strategies.
What's the most unique thing that you've seen someone do during the breaks?
I think this was a couple years ago in San Francisco.
TPC Stonebrae?
It's TPC Stonebrae, yeah. We were the second group out, following, and in twosomes, following a group that was off the charts fast. And my partner, whatever he ate last night was really slowing him down, and he had to back off the ball a few times to pass wind. And this happened a few too many times, and we were rapidly falling out of position. And lo and behold, we got put on the clock because this kid was farting too much. And we got back in position somehow, but that was probably one of the most ridiculous instances of, this guy was passing time to pass gas.
A guy I played junior golf with, it was the first time I ever played with him. I got paired with him a few times afterwards, but he you know, we were playing a tournament on like the third hole of the day. He was like, I have to go to the bathroom, and it was he went and knocked on people's houses along the hole, and nobody answered, and he pulled out a roll of toilet paper from his bag.
Oh no.
That he carried around. It turned out he had IBS.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went into he went into the reeds and just took care of the issue. But it was the most, you know, I was like 15 watching a kid take a roll of toilet paper out of his bag and just, you know, knocking on random people's houses asking if he could use the facilities. It was you know, what would you do if somebody knocked on your door and asked to use your bathroom?
He's coming in immediately. I mean, good God, get that man to a toilet. Are you serious? Because otherwise it's all over your patio and you feel for the guy. Like there's nothing worse in this situation than feeling like you're gonna, you know.
All right. Let's get to one more here. Worst tradition in golf. No, it didn't give his age, and probably should have just redacted the email here. I was playing in a member guest at a public course up in the Northeast this past weekend. It was a 2-day tournament. Day 1 was 2 best balls out of 4. Day 2 was a bramble, 2 best balls out of 4. I don't know what a bramble is. It's like is that where you tee off? I think it's where you tee off, and isn't that a shamble? I don't know. I think it has to do with something with scramble. Best ball scramble. So maybe it's 2 best balls after, I don't know. I any format of scramble is I'm out on in general. Do you like scrambles, Vince?
No, I hate scrambles.
I feel like you just get in bad habits when you play scrambles.
Yeah, you just play overly aggressive and stupid. So that's, for me, they're dumb, but for amateurs, they make a lot of sense.
This was one of the tournaments where you buy in. The buy-in was less than a couple $100, and it seemed like more of a drinking event with a little golf mixed in. An individual on the team who ended up winning had a hole-in-one during the bramble portion of the event, effectively carding 2 hole-in-ones for his team. I don't. I get it, because they teed off, so they get 1 on both of them. That's pretty sweet. So it must be some sort of scramble after a tee shot. After the round, there seemed to be a fair amount of pressure amongst the older generation for this young guy to put down his credit card at the bar. So I'm assuming it's a younger guy, maybe not flush with cash, which the young guy graciously did. It did not take long for the bar tab to eclipse $400, and which the point the tab was closed. Though the rules in the tournament dictated the winnings be paid out as pro shop credit, the course decided to pay out this individual in cash, given the circumstances. After paying his bar tab, the guy took home $11. I understand the origin behind the tradition, but is it time to stop pressuring people to cover $400 bar tabs because they hit one of the best golf shots of their career? Could be wrong here, but he's effectively saying, is this the worst tradition in golf, that you have to buy people drinks after you hit the best golf shot of your career?
Yes, I've gone on the record and said this publicly as well. I think it's one of the stupidest traditions in the world. In fact, I'm okay with buying a case of beer for the group that you're with or a round of drinks for the group, but running up the tab for the entire clubhouse for people who are complete strangers, like that's I'm very out on that, actually.
Yeah, I think this sucks.
It totally sucks.
I mean, like, it also sucks when it happens in an event and you have like the entire group of people there. I guess this is why the hole-in-one insurance has gotten so big at all the clubs, like, that you don't have to do this. It's a silly tradition. I think everybody knows where I stand on hole-in-ones. I think they're stupid in general. I think I've had 2 hole-in-ones. I remember one because of the circumstance of playing with my dad on Father's Day. Like, that was cool. Like, that's what I remember about it. I don't remember anything. It wasn't that the ball went in, it just was the circumstance. I remember another hole-in-one. It was cool because the guy in the same group got a hole-in-one like 3 holes earlier. But when I think about the best shots of my life, none of the hole-in-ones are considered the best shots of my life. But anyways, so yeah, I just think the whole celebration of hole-in-ones needs to be reconsidered, just in general.
Absolutely.
What's the best shot you've ever hit in your life?
I tell you what, I actually am a believer that hole-in-ones are purely accidental for the most part. So I don't think they involve a whole lot of skill. However, albatrosses, on the other hand, require a great amount of skill.
The biggest bird.
The biggest of all birds. And those, on the other hand, require a lot of skill, I think. And if I were to... Oh, boy, this is a tough one. The best shot I've ever hit is between an albatross I made at Pumpkin Ridge and threading 2 eucalyptus trees in Quito, Ecuador, at 10,000 feet. I had a very tiny gap, probably a couple feet wide from 190 yards. And these eucalyptus are some of the biggest trees I've ever seen. And I was a little underneath in that time of my career, so I truly had no idea where the golf ball was going. But I pulled a rabbit out of my pocket here and hit it through these 2 limbs from 190 yards to about 3 inches, and was kind of blacked out there for a little bit, not entirely sure what I just witnessed or how I did that. But and then it's between that and the albatross at number 4 at Pumpkin Ridge on the Witch Hollow golf course. There's one pin in the back center there that, in order to get to it and not go in the front bunker or hit it long, you have to land it on like a little tabletop to take off all the speed. And I hit a high spinny 5-iron at the time, which landed directly on top of this tabletop, checked up, and then went in the putt as if it was dying. So that was probably the most perfect shot I think I've ever hit, because it required me to hit it on top of what seemed like a Volkswagen Beetle at the time from 215 yards or so.
It's I'll tell you what, the story of threading it between the trees, nothing turns around a tournament or changes a tournament like sneaking a birdie or an eagle out of a bad situation.
Yeah, you're looking at, like, if you saw these trees in person, they're the largest trees I've ever seen in my entire life. And on the first hole in Ecuador, you have to hit it between the 2 largest trees on the golf course. And if you hit it 10 yards left or right, you're just completely blocked out. You're essentially in the jungle. And of course I hit it in the jungle, and now I need a machete and a Sherpa to get out of there. But I found a little opening, and staring double bogey in the face in a miscut, I decided to right the ship.
What's the worst course on the Korn Ferry Tour?
You know what? It pains me to say this because it's a great golf tournament, but it's Crestview Country Club in Wichita is truly a despicable golf course.
It's the best. It's the best trophy in golf. The propeller.
The propeller. Yeah, the Air Capital Classic. I tell you what, that golf course, if you had persimmons and baladas, because we nicknamed it the Hairdryer Open presented by Sunbeam, because it's 95 degrees every day and it's blowing 25 out of the south. If you had persimmons and baladas, that place would be hilarious. But the game has truly outgrown that golf course, and you cut every possible corner, and it's just it's a massacre out there now.
I bet the members love it though, because they see, like, they play all the dog legs still.
They do.
They see it. They're like, oh my god, look at this.
I mean, there's truly like 3 drivable holes on the front 9. And then if you think about it, some of the longest guys, I bet if you had Bryson out there, he's probably driving 5 of the par 4s out there. And when I first played there like 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, this is a 4-iron and a wedge, no problem. And then I just continue to rip driver every time I go there because the ball goes so far now.
Yeah, it
crazy.
Does. It goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe Korn Ferry courses aren't the best representation of tour courses too.
No,
it could be maybe a problem that's getting extrapolated by the distance gains.
Yeah, well, if you go down to Columbia ever, if you had a chance to go play where we play in in Bogota. The big golf course is awesome. It's very old school, tiny greens, which are all elevated. But then we got to play the little baby golf course, which is functionally like 5,500 yards long at 8,000 feet.
Is that where the 57 happened this year?
A 57, yeah. And that place is truly hilarious because you're hitting it down a hallway of trees everywhere you go. And you got super tiny greens, which are all mushy poana. And it's just a game within a game to take spin off little baby shots. And it's infuriating, actually.
You know, we're speaking to a record holder. You have the 54-hole scoring record on the Corn Ferry Tour. Do you feel like the King and the Bear would fall into this bucket? Or do you have a fake record?
Is that a slight against my career and my record?
I'm just asking. I'm just asking the question. I want to know, as you've railed on this course, is your scoring record fake?
To ask that is to also question Chris Kirk's comeback as well. So you realize you're kind of sliding Chris Kirk as you're going about this.
I gotta say, he's been really good.
Yeah,
he's been back.
You could also say I passed the torch to Chris that day, and I allowed him to further his golf career and rebound to where he is now. So
he should probably have to give you a percentage of his winnings.
I would think so. It was a big day for the both of us, and we both went in completely different directions.
That's the gentleman thing to do would be to give you a percentage of earnings from that point on, right?
Yeah, I might reach out to him. He's a nice guy, so maybe he's feeling generous these days.
All right, Vince, we will be rooting for you in the Colorado Open. Is Drew Love in the field? Old shotgun start favorite.
I'm not entirely sure, but
all right, we'll look that up. We'll come up with maybe a scorecard for a shotgun start favorites in the Colorado Open. People, where to watch, how to watch. You could watch it on Colorado's PGA website.
Yeah.
And then we wish you the best of luck in the state open circuit. I hope you enjoy your time in Iowa. You're an Iowa legend. And thanks for coming on and joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.